A former Washington Cardinal, Theodore McCarricks, one of the most public figures in the Catholic Church, but tonight he may be the first cardinal to resign. McCarricks submitted his resignation from the College of Cardinals to Pope Francis, according to reports from the Vatican. The Pope accepted McCarricks' resignation after several allegations that McCarricks sexually abused young boys or young priests, and those allegations surfaced. Pope Francis called on McCarricks to lead, quote, a life of prayer and penance until the accusations against him are examined.
We have to have better procedures for vetting people who are becoming bishops and cardinals. I mean, this is to have this failure in the vetting system is scandalous. It's shocking, and we cannot have this happen. And I think this is a real wake-up call for the church to remind us that we've got to do a better job.
McCarricks served as Archbishop of Washington from 2001 to 2006. Among those accusing McCarricks of sexual abuse is a Virginia man being identified only by his first name, James. He says the abuse began when he was just 11 years old and continued for the next 2 decades. He also says he hopes McCarricks' resignation will help other victims. McCarricks, meantime, he's denied the allegations. Tonight, church insiders are speaking out.
What this means is that no matter how important your position, no matter how prestigious, when it comes to sex abuse, you are going to be held accountable.
The Catholic Church is based on the credibility of its ministers. And if people cannot trust ministers of the Church with themselves, with their own lives, with their children, well, who can they trust?
88-year-old McCarricks remains a priest pending the outcome of a Vatican trial. We're taking a look at McCarricks' career now. Theodore Edgar McCarricks was an only child who was born in New York City in 1930. In 1958, McCarricks was ordained as a priest by New York Cardinal Spellman. McCarricks came to Washington in the 1960s, where he served as Dean of Students and Development Director at the Catholic University of America, and he later became president of the university in Puerto Rico. In 1970, Monsignor McCarricks returned to New York and worked under Cardinal Spellman. Pope Paul VI appointed him Auxiliary Bishop of New York in 1977. In 1981, McCarricks became Archbishop of Newark, and in 2001, he was installed as the 5th Archbishop of Washington. 2 weeks later, he was elevated to Cardinal. McCarricks retired in 2006 after reaching the mandatory age of retirement of 75. For any new developments on this story when we're not on the air, you can certainly stay up to date with our WUSA 9 app.